Hey everybody, it's ShadowStar here, and it is finally time for me to rank the episodes in Modern Doctor Who Series 10. So, after the amazing season that was Series 9, we're on to Series 10, and I know some people like Series 10, and I can definitely see why, because there's elements in every episode that are great, and Bill's great, and the Doctor's great, and Nardol's great, but individually, each of these episodes aren't actually that spectacular. Like, I've gone through my rewatch, and looking at these episodes, most of them except for the last couple aren't that outstanding, but each of them still has little moments here and there that are still good. With that being said, let's start with my least favourite of Series 10, Knock Knock. Oh boy, what an unbearable sidecast this episode is. What world-class genius thought, yeah, let's make an episode full of young adults and teenagers pretending to be young adults and teenagers. Ugh, what an unbearable concept that is. The villain isn't that exciting whatsoever. The ending reminds me of it's a very dull version of the ending from, I forgot the Doctor Dances. So really, yeah, it's just a really boring ending, a really boring villain, and the sidecast are all annoying, and in the end, everyone's alive again. Whoop-de-freaking-do. So yeah, it's not that exciting, and the cast are horrible. Next up, speaking of episodes with horrible cast, it's the Empress of Mars. I said this in the Cold War, and I'll say it again. The Ice Warriors are not good villains, at least in 2 episodes they've had in Modern Doctor Who. Can we have some better villains, please? Because the Ice Warriors, I don't know why, I had to double check the actress. The actress who plays the Empress Queen of the Ice Warriors sounds a lot like the Rachnos Queen, but it's just a coincidence. She sounds so similar, but it's not her. Anyway, the side characters are all unbearable. Nardol's not even in it for most of the episode. So it's just like, this episode just kind of rolls around and I forget. It's like, oh, that's it, it's over. It's like 1 minute they're fighting, and the next minute they're not, and the Queen is like, alright, fine. And then that's it. And then the Queen gets help, and that's the end of it. It's like, it takes so long to get to this war between the humans and the Ice Warriors. It lasts about 3 seconds, and I don't know about you, but the CGI when they get turned into a ball looks so silly. Anyway, yeah, God. I've heard people like Empress of Mars. I'm not that fond of it. Speaking of an episode that people usually rank low, Eaters of Light. Now, it's not amazing, but I do think it's better than Empress of Mars. For one thing, I actually like the side cast in this episode, and I think both Bill and Nardole have some good scenes. Nardole gets to be comic relief. Bill gets to have some nice moments alone, which is great. This almost feels like an episode that should have happened a little early in the season, and to be honest, I've heard it was supposed to take place earlier in the season, and they just tacked on the ending with Missy. So really, yeah, this feels like what an episode this should have been like episode 4. This should have been where Knock Knock was, and that would have been a better placement. But otherwise, it's still a good episode. I enjoy it, the characters are alright, there's lots of good moments for the Doctor and Bill, so yeah, this is an alright episode. Now, this is an episode a lot of people have mixed opinions on. Oxygen. Okay. Positive note of this episode, the opening, when the Doctor is describing space and how space could be scary. I like that. Because you forget that space is, as he says, you forget that space is scary with all our spaceships and spacesuits and so on. But when it's nothing but you in a spacesuit and the emptiness around you, yeah, it's scary. And when he talks about how space will kill you, it's a great speech. Like I said, the 12th Doctor is the Doctor of speeches, so putting him in a lecture hall, oof, perfect idea right there. But the rest of the episode is just kind of rolling around. It's like, okay, we found these people, we talk about what's wrong with the place, then we go out in space, the Doctor's blind, then the Doctor stops everything, and we talk. There's a lot of talking and over-explaining how things happen in this episode. And yeah. Also, I don't know, there's one too many fake-out deaths in this season, and here's another one with Bill almost dying but not really dying. What's with all the fake-out deaths? Oh well, I mean, to be fair, Classic Who did it all the time, but yeah. I feel like if this were Classic Who, you would have had a iconic cliffhanger when Bill almost died. But yeah. Alright, now, I've decided to split the Monk trilogy into its individual pieces. So in 7th place, we have the Pyramid at the End of the World. The longest word count in any Doctor Who title, by the way. So yeah, I hate that title just alone. But getting to it, it's not awful. I do like the whole message about consent, and there's a few good Doctor moments in this episode. I like having the three armies together and all that. It is a bit odd that Unit's not involved, although now that we know things about Unit's future from Series 13, I'm going to retcon it and say that this is when Unit mysteriously disbanded, and that's why it's the UN. But getting to the point at hand, this episode, of all the Monk episodes, is not the best. It feels like we just kind of do stuff and Bill's a colossal idiot. It's like, okay, they really should have put in a line saying whether or not the Doctor can survive explosions? Because really, yeah, Bill gives off the whole world to save the Doctor, and we don't even know whether he could have survived the explosion. Nice going, guys. Also, there are like so many ways he could have done that. Did you not surely there could have been a mirror or a glass or some reflective surface in that room that he could have like reflected the code off of, and then that girl could have read the code off of him. There's so many ways he could have gotten through that lock even without his vision. But no. Also, some locks often have braille. I guess this one didn't either. God, they really had to force a situation for Bill to have to screw it up. Nice going, Bill. But yeah, this episode is alright, I guess. Alright, get to 6th position in its pilot. First off, this one is... it's a refreshing episode, mainly because after the craziness of Series 9 and having so long with Clara, just having a fresh start and a fresh new companion, it's so nice. Seeing the Doctor and Nardole in the school is nice. You get introduced to Bill and she's a delightful companion. It's just... this worked perfectly because you've had such a crazy Series 9. In real life, we had well over a year since the last full season. So, having a nice, soft, fresh start is exactly what we needed. So, I remember the joy I felt when I first saw that episode, and that alone puts it up there. The villain itself isn't that exciting, and we just kind of run around a bit. It's more about setting up Bill than anything else, so, I'll give it credit for that. It's not the best companion introduction episode, but it's a pretty nice, refreshing one, and that's what makes it enjoyable. Alright, I actually quite like this episode. Smile! I like the premise. Series 10 often has episodes where I like the premise more than the execution, although the execution is still nice. The idea of grief being a plague and the robots misinterpreting how grief and emotion is spread, it's a very nice premise when we get down to it. And, being the first adventure for Bill is a nice episode too. You start with these more somewhat light-hearted episodes for Bill's first adventure. So, light-hearted episode, there's a few good lines here and there. Seeing the Doctor awkwardly smile is always fun. Perfect first adventure for Bill. A great concept with grief being a plague, and then the robots and the humans have to work together in the end. I love whenever the Doctor's poetic. It's all nice. Alright, 4th position, and even this has some weak moments. It's the Lie of the Land. This episode wins mainly for the speeches alone. The Doctor has a great speech about free will when he's telling off Bill. Even though he's only pretending to work for the monks, that speech is still genuine. The Doctor has 2 good smiles. Like when he's at the beginning, when he's giving a monologue about the monks being in control, he gives a really creepy smile. And then, when he crashes the boat into the pier, he gives an evil laugh. It's like, he's not even being evil, but, Peter Capaldi could play a villain, and it's so great. Speaking of villains, they're not the villain in this episode, but Missy is finally here, and with Missy here, we actually get a nice little speech. Missy gets to make a speech about what good and bad is in the sentimental myth, and the directions, when Missy's talking, and then it leads into the next scene, and you see her eyes in the smoke. It's just really good direction in that moment. It's a good episode for Bill and Nardole too, when they're trying to get onto the boat and working together. I like Bill and Nardole working together. It's always nice. We've had companion teams before, but the only other major 3 team we ever had was Amy and Rory, and since they were already together, it didn't feel like randomly pairing them up. Whereas here, it's nice to see Nardole and Bill work together. The ending, or the solution, is a bit like Rings of Akaton, where we use fake memories of a dead mother to overpower things because it's memories of something that never was. It's a great idea, but we already did that with Rings of Akaton. So yeah, some good points, some bad points. Missy and the Doctor are great in this episode, though. Alright, Third place is episode 3, Thin Ice. Okay, everyone loves this episode, and there are definitely good points about it. The Doctor's speech about the value of life, great. The moment where Bill confronts the Doctor about who he's lost and has he killed somebody and how old the Doctor is, all great. Yeah, those are all good moments. The ending is pretty good too. It's a perfect, it's a nice balance. After the relatively more light-hearted episode of Smile, you have a somewhat more darker episode of Thin Ice, where the villain is human, and, it's a very cruel episode with kids dying. The Doctor gets a lot of great speeches, and of course he punches that guy, so, Thin Ice has a lot of great moments. There are some moments where it slows down, like I don't care for the bit where they're under the water, but, like, everything else, it's a pretty good episode. I can see why people love it, and, of the Series 10 standards, it's pretty good. Alright, second place, and this is one where often I'm giving it to an episode just for its execution and idea, and that's Extremis. Sure, it's technically part of the Monk trilogy, but it stands alone, and I love it. We explore the idea of the world being a simulation and everything being fake, and what do you know is real. That's such a cool idea, and I love that we finally explored it. Again, we get some Bill and Nardole working together and being alone and exploring things. I love that little bit of whole Bill and Nardole working together alone. Great. And then the Doctor explaining the simulation to Bill is great, and, how AI becomes sentient, and there's lots of good little moments in here, and it's an odd thing, because as setup, it made the monks seem so cool. Obviously, the monks weren't that great, but as a premise, I really like it, and yes, that's my episode, that's my second place, is an episode just because it's got a cool premise. Alright, it's something I don't often do, but I'm actually putting the finale in top position. It's World Enough in Time, and the Doctor falls. Oh boy, it's the big one! Okay, when people say they love Series 10, this is what they're referring to. This masterpiece. We open with the most enjoyable scene in the world of Missy pretending to be the Doctor, and Missy has some incredible fun lines in this episode. Like, pretty much every bit of dialogue Missy has in that opening scene is just so fun. It's so fun. There's so many good lines in that Missy scene alone. Then, obviously, we get Mr. Razor, who later turns out to be the Master. He's such a fun character, too! And then you learn he's the Master. Bill in this episode is so good, man. Bill really gets shit on. Like, this is Bill's exit episode, and she just gets like, oh, your assignment ends now, sorry. It's such a cruel fate, unlike, the pseudo-happy ending in the goodbye speech of Clara or Amy or everyone else. Nah, Bill, see ya, bye, that's it, that's the end of you. And then the second half is the Doctor facing the Cybermen, Missy and the Master together. The Doctor's speech to Missy and the Master about why he does things is brilliant. There's so many good moments in this episode. Fighting the Cybermen, the music when the Doctor's facing the Cybermen and using the sonic and everything blows up. Oh man, the Doctor is just... the Doctor is the best. He's got so many good speeches. I love you, Capaldi. Capaldi's great in this episode, Bill's great, Nardole's got lots of good fun moments throughout this episode. Like I said, the opening scene is brilliant. The build-up with Bill in the background is creepy and slow, and I love the fact that we take our time and spend the whole time getting used to it. And if you didn't know Cybermen were in this episode, it's a very creepy build-up to the origin of the Cybermen as well, and having Bill become a Cyberman is so cruel, but I love it. So yeah, I could go on, and then, there's lots of good lines between the Master and Missy, or it is a bit odd that we have the Master here, and then once he's revealed, he doesn't do much, he's just kind of here. Like in the second half, he's just kind of here, which is a bit shame to use the John Sim Master. That being said, Moffat being the genius he is, finally ties up the connection of how John Sim became Missy. So there you go. We finally he ties it all up, and then, gotta remember, until late in the game, this was supposed to be the actual regeneration episode, and the Doctor his regeneration is caused by Cybermen, but he'd had to delay the regeneration so we can have one more Christmas episode. Long story short, there almost never was going to be a Christmas episode because Chibnall didn't want to do one. And the BBC said, right, if you don't do one now, you'll never have one. So Moffat said, alright, let's quickly do a Christmas episode. So yeah, this is why the episode didn't end up being the last one. But that's a side point. This is one of the best finales, and there's so many good Capaldi moments. I mean, it's Capaldi, he's the best Doctor. What's not to love about him? So yeah. But with that being said, I have finished Series 10. Not as lovable as I can see now, it's not as lovable as Series 8 and 9, as the individual episodes aren't that special. Although, each episode has great little moments. Bill's a wonderful companion, Nardol's a fun character, there's great Missy moments, and Capaldi is always wonderful. So they're sprinkled throughout the season, but the individual episodes themselves are kind of average at best. But hey, next time I'm doing my review of Series 11. Oh boy, it'll be interesting to rewatch and have to rank those episodes. I don't hate it as much as other people do, but I haven't really thought about my feelings about a lot of those episodes since original rewatch, so it'll be interesting to see what I think. Goodbye, Capaldi, you're the best Doctor. Anyway, I will see you next time for more Doctor Who reviews and other things as well. See you next time, guys.